Okay, so now we are going to talk about agreeing and disagreeing. You might have heard that phrase, I agree to disagree, right? So let's have a look. When do we have agreements and disagreements? Whenever we are talking with people. Now, look at this picture. We should build a house. Yes, I agree. Now they are agreeing, but if you look at the conception of a house in their bubbles, they are different. Isn't that so? Now look at this person. He has a house which has a tree and everything, and this person is thinking about a longer version of a house having a chimney or something. Both of them, they are talking about the same thing, but in their minds or in their thought processes, the house they are actually imagining is different. So whenever we are having a conversation or a discussion, we actually spend a lot of time agreeing and disagreeing with the ideas, with the opinions, and other people. So we are going to talk about that how to agree and disagree in English language. So what is to agree or disagree with something? To express what you think. Why do we need to express? Because only then we can communicate properly. To say what you think, to agree with someone about certain topics or situations. So these are the multiple layers of situations where we can express an agreement or a disagreement. Some expressions of agreement, for example, that's a good point. If somebody tells me that, ma'am, we can talk about this and this is how we can talk about it, and I can say, wow, that's a good point. Yeah, or you make a good point. So that is how I'm showing my agreement with them. You have a point there. I feel the same way. I think so too. Absolutely. I totally agree. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. The last one is the most standardized version of agreeing with somebody. If you want to agree with somebody, you should use the phrase or you should use the sentence, I mean to say, I couldn't agree more. If somebody talks about somebody or some idea and you agree with them, you can say, I couldn't agree more. It means that you agree, totally agree. Now try to agree with this. Take a minute and look at this picture. It says, video games make you smarter. And these are the expressions that show disagreement. I totally disagree. Isn't true that it's not true that don't you think that no way you're wrong. I don't think so. I'm afraid I have to disagree. I hate to disagree, but unfortunately I disagree, right? I'm sorry to disagree, but okay. So do you think English is boring? Try to disagree with the statement. Then we also can partly agree with certain statements. For example, yesterday one of my students, they asked me what about assignments. So I told them that um, I'm not sure, but you're supposed to submit it on LMS. So I was agreeing, I was confirming to some extent, right? If somebody asks me, do I like politics or do I like this certain politician or not? Do I agree with their agenda or not? So I would say I'm not sure, but to some extent their agendas, they are good and I believe they can do good for the society and environment. So I'm partly agreeing to it. For example, when I check papers or assignments, some of the students, they do not like marking and they ask, ma'am, what is the reason for deducting marks over here? Because I believe I've written it correctly, etc., etc. So I can disagree or agree with them by saying, I see your point, but I think that there were grammatical mistakes. Or I can say, I see your point, but this is how, or this is how much you're going to get. So this is how you can partly agree and disagree. Some other expressions that you can use for expressing agreement or disagreement are I feel, in my opinion, I think, I don't think. Well, yes, but, right? So the verb to agree is yes or no. In simple words, if I ask you, do you agree with this statement? You can simply say yes or no. All right?